Hello guys, Brad here again with another fragrance video. I was at work today and I came up with an interesting idea, concept for a fragrance video, and I call this one the 7 Deadly Sins of Fragrances. And I jotted down some ideas here on a piece of paper, things that I think are important things to consider when you wear fragrances. And for someone like myself that's been in the fragrance game for a long, long time, I figure I should have some say in the matter as well. So here are my 7 deadly sins for fragrances. Number one, the sin of over applying. Now, as you can see here, I said over applying, not under applying. If you underapply, that's not a big crime, but if you overapply, that can be a big problem. You can start to annoy those around you. Even if your fragrance cloud is more than a couple feet around you, you are probably over applying your fragrance. And if you work in close proximity to other people, or if you're in a crowded area, that can be a big issue and a bit inconsiderate as well. So I would say number one is the sin of over applying your fragrance. Number two, the sin of storage. Now, storage is a big thing to think about when you talk about fragrances. We know that a lot of people say that fragrances have a shelf life, and that may or may not be so, but definitely the life of your fragrance is greatly influenced by how you store your fragrances. Some people are very strict on this and say, well, you should put your fragrances in a wine cooler or refrigerator. I basically just keep mine in a relatively cool place and dark area, but definitely avoid putting your fragrances in a bathroom cabinet, a windowsill, in direct sunlight, and definitely keep fragrances away from your glove compartment in your car or anywhere inside your car. Those are gross errors in fragrances. So the sin of storage is a big one. Number three, the sin of season. Now, some fragrances are suitable for all 4 seasons. Some fragrances are definitely more suited for one season than another. That's why so many fragrance reviewers have top 10, top 20 season lists. So if you're wearing a fragrance that's designed for cool weather and you're wearing it on a very hot, muggy day, that can be really bad, I think, especially if you over apply it, which is the number one sin as well. Now, if you wear something that's suitable for summer and you wear that in the wintertime, that might not be quite as bad, because basically what that's going to do is it's going to take the fragrance and sort of tone it down a notch. But if you wear a fragrance designed for cooler weather and wear it in the heat, humidity, that can really amp it up, and that can be really annoying on a hot day in the summertime or hot spring day. So I'll say number three is the sin of season. Number four, the sin of wearing for others. Now, I remember one time someone asked Jeremy the question, would you rather wear a fragrance that you think smells like crap and get you compliments, or a fragrance that you really enjoy and doesn't get you any compliments? And he said, well, I'd wear a fragrance that I think smelled like crap if it got me compliments. Now, the problem with that mentality is that if you always wear a fragrance that you don't enjoy, you're really going to despise the fragrance that you're wearing, and probably fragrances in general. So it's important to find a compromise. Wear a fragrance that you like, and hopefully others will like too. It's a fine balance sometimes, especially if you get into like the niche fragrance world, but would definitely encourage you try to strike a balance here between a fragrance you love and fragrance others can at least tolerate, versus a fragrance that you don't like, and just basically being a compliment seeker. So number four, the sin of wearing for others. Number five, the sin of wearing a fragrance at all. And I say that is because I do believe there are many occasions when it's probably best not to even wear a fragrance. Job interviews, some people would say the gym, uh, hospitals or doctor appointments, things like that, where there might even be signs that strictly say, please don't wear fragrances, no fragrances allowed. So there are certainly times when it's best to just not wear a fragrance at all. Just shower, maybe some deodorant. You don't have to always wear a fragrance. Now, some people might argue that that's absurd to restrict yourself, but I think, being considerate of others, especially, when allergies can be, into play, that's something to think about. So number five, the sin of wearing a fragrance at all. Number six, the sin of paying retail. Now, some fragrances, especially the new releases, you might not have any choice but to pay retail. But a fragrance that's been out for many years, especially a fragrance from a low-end house, you might be able to find a great deal online, like a Fragrance Net and so forth. So if you're paying full retail for a fragrance and you can get it cheaper online, I consider that to be a sin in the fragrance world. Always do some research. Don't just impulsively buy a fragrance. You're out at the mall and you smell something nice and you're like, oh, I'm going to get this $80. It smells nice, but then you go home later that day and see it online for $30. So don't waste your money paying retail unless you really have to on the newer releases or some of the niche fragrances. But if it's been out for a while and you can get it cheap, buy it cheap online. There's a lot of reputable online dealers to deal with. Number 7, the final one. This is from my friend Al from Street Sense. The sin of rubbing it in. Now, I think Al probably takes that sin a lot more seriously than others. Personally, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I basically just spray and let it sort of air out on its own. I don't, rub it in and stuff like that, destroying the molecules, whatever. So take that for what it is. Basically, just to round up my list, for Al's sake, don't rub it in. So there you go. The 7 deadly sins of fragrances. Hope you enjoyed my list. Comment down below what you think. Add your own sin if you want. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later.